Hey, Sarah here. Today, we're going to talk about not using reinforcement as a bribe. Reinforcement is an evidence-based practice. It's a behavior support, and it is often misunderstood. And I hear sometimes people say, I don't believe in reinforcement because I don't believe in bribing students. So let's unpack this about how not to use reinforcement as a bribe. So when disruptive behavior occurs, do not remind your child of the reinforcer that he would receive if he stopped. Also, do not threaten him with the loss of the reward. So that's two separate things here, but this is when you're starting to use reinforcement more as a bribe. And for example, don't say, if you don't stop humming, I will take away your computer. We don't want to get in the cycle of having to just constantly remind our students, remember, you get computer time if you finish this. Remember, if you get computer time if you finish this, or the threats. So do not increase the reinforcement following the occurrence of disruptive behavior. For example, when behavior escalates, don't introduce an additional reinforcer that was not present prior to the escalation. If you stop humming, I will give you 5 more gummy bears. So that's, again, starting to become that slippery slope where reinforcement is starting to become a bribe. Bribery is extremely tempting to use because in the short term, it can look effective and funny, can work quickly to stop behavior. It is a slippery slope and can lead to a lot of negative fallout if used frequently. When given a bribe, your child will immediately stop the disruptive behavior. This is why, honestly, it's so tempting to use because in the short term, it really does work. This is a short-term strategy that may bring immediate relief, but can cause a lasting problem if used often. Both you and the student will become dependent on this cycle of bribery. And I see this often. It becomes very tempting to use because in the short term, it does work. But in the long term, it's not like positive reinforcement, which is an evidence-based practice, which shows that target behaviors will increase and become stronger in your class. This will only work short time. How bribery can backfire. So in this blue box here, you will have to often remind them about the reinforcer and what they should be doing to earn it. So you would say to them, remember, if you want computer time, you need to finish your worksheet. This is where it really starts to backfire because then you're in the position again of having to constantly remind them of the reinforcer. So it invites constant negotiation and bargaining, and it could get them into a pattern of first thinking about whether the reinforcer is even worth the effort you're asking them to make. So at first, you might be starting with like a sticker, and they're like, I'm not going to do it unless I have an M&M. Then it's a full pack of M&Ms, and then eventually, you're having to get them a Ferrari for them to do anything. So once you begin relying on if-then bargaining, you admit that the result of this interaction is more important than the process. So if you say, if you stop screaming, I'll get you a soda. At this point, the child will only change his behavior because of what you've offered, instead of doing it because he is a child that listens or because it is the right thing to do. It will focus more on the external rewards and reduce the chances the child will internalize the desire to make better choices. So, how to use positive reinforcement with fidelity? I have another video that talks about the 10 rules of reinforcement you might want to check out. But really, you want to do this instead. So, announce and give the reward after the appropriate behavior occurs. Besides countering the disadvantages of bribery, it makes reinforcement less predictable, thereby allowing you to fade the reinforcement. So a variable rate of reinforcement, kind of like slot machines and gambling and such, is the most kind of seductive form of reinforcement because you don't know when you're getting it until the big payout comes. So until after the behavior happens, that's the most powerful and most appropriate way to use positive reinforcement well. So just remember, timing is everything. Do not present or remind the student of the reinforcement during the disruptive behavior. So when things are going sideways, you don't want to remind or bring out or show them, okay, remember, if you fix your behavior, if you pull yourself out of this disruptive behavior, you're going to get this. No, timing's everything. Remember the 3-term contingency and reinforce after the target behavior has been exhibited. That's really the key to making sure you're doing positive reinforcement and not slipping into a pattern of bribery and negotiations. So here are my references. Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching.